Golem, an ancient wandering forest protector, finds a young girl while patrolling the forest. This little girl is named Somali, and she is bound in chains when the Golem finds her. It's only natural that the Golem has a bunch of questions pop up in his head. The Golem makes himself the girl's guardian and lets the girl call him father. Thus begins their travels, from one city to another to learn all about civilization. This is where the story brings war into the question. One that nearly had the human race go extinct, and despite there being some humans left, they are either slaves or treated as mere livestock. During shopping one day, Somali starts chasing a cat, getting separated from Golem, and ends up in a blind alley. The cat turns out to be a monster, and recognizing Somali being a human based on her scent, things look to become dire all of a sudden. But then the Golem Guardian shows up and it's all good. Somali gets rebuked for getting separated from her father, but the Golem understands how human children are driven by emotions and curiosity alone. They start walking hand in hand to their next destination. Now the two being in the middle of having breakfast, Somali lets her curiosity get the better of her once again, and chasing after some rabbits this time, trips and injures her knee. All of a sudden, a dwarf Oni, Shizuno, appears out of the blue and offers to help Somali, bringing the pair home soon after. The two meet Yabashida, and when the Golem asks the dwarf to teach him the ways of medical herbology, he complies in exchange for a bit of that Golem armor that would help his research. Meanwhile, Yabashida makes sure Somali is busy with some chores while the Golem is having his armor removed. Soon, Shizuo regrets asking the Golem for some armor, but the Golem tells him that his anguish is similar to Somali just when she hurt herself earlier, something the Golem never wants to see ever again. As Somali goes to sleep that night, the Golem tells the two how they are traveling and all he wants is for Somali to find her parents. But at the same time, he doesn't have much time left since after a year or so he will shut down permanently. The next morning, the two are back to traveling once again. After days and days of traveling, their supplies start to run low, and they have to visit a desert canyon village called Anthole City. Even after selling some stuff to restock their supplies, the two are short on money, and because of that, the Golem decides to work as a waiter in a nearby restaurant to make up for the deficit. The restaurant is run by a family of deer-like shurigaras, has almost zero customers. But the mother is ill and the Golem happily takes the mom's spot, while Somali comes to take a liking to Kikila, the young child of the family. During the job, the Golem comes to know about the humans that live on the other side of the desert, but isn't able to go there immediately because of the deficit still being there. The job is taxing and takes most of the Golem's time, and because of that, though initially reluctant to do so, he lets Somali go with Kikila. As the two are having a chat about all sorts of things, Somali mentions how she's scared that the Golem would leave her as soon as their journey is over, to which Kikila brings her to a mysterious cave where wishes come true. The two are walking around in the cavern and finally have the flowers in front of them marking the site where wishes come true. But instead of that, a mushroom monster comes to life all of a sudden, and as it jumps the two, a wolf-like monster appears and scares the mushroom away. Now the wolf turns towards Somali and reveals himself to be Muthrika, the guardian of this mysterious cavern and Kikila's mentor. Somali's flower suddenly begins to die and lose its shine, probably because of not receiving enough nutrients from the Tsuchiyami trees. The trio then set to discover deeper and deeper to find the flower that grants wishes. Finally, the trio arrives at the core and discover a giant Tsuchiyami tree that's encircled by many flowers. As soon as Somali picks one flower, a lizard beast appears and praises Somali's courage and spirit. The three make it back to the restaurant but get an earful from the Golem, Somali the most for wandering off to places where she shouldn't be, to which Somali runs to her room. Muthrika explains everything to the Golem, and just when things are about to get better, Somali gets feverishly sick and stops eating anything at all. The Golem gets really worried and rushes to get some medicine that would make her feel better. Depressed and worried that he's the one responsible, the Golem is reassured by Kokilia, Kikila's father, as he educates the Golem a thing or two about parenting in general. The next day, everything is good and things have returned to the way they used to be. But the Golem has a load of work waiting for him since he has spent the money on Somali's medicine. Muthrika then tells the Golem that his promise to stay with Somali won't be kept, as the truth about the dwindling automaton lifespan is something else. After working for a couple of days, the two continue their journey and this time reach Wine Cup Village. They aren't alone there, since Uzoi, a harpy, and Haitora, a falcon, are a few travelers who faced similar trials and tribulations. Talking to each other about everything, the duo offers Somali and the Golem help, something that the duo readily accepts. However, the Golem and Somali don't know that Uzoi is aware of the fact that Somali is a human, and Haitora, being a human in disguise, is slowly becoming and transforming into a harpy. Uzoi schemes to use Somali in some way to cure his partner's transformation. The journey through the desert is hard, with the desert throwing almost everything it has at the four travelers, but eventually they reach a bright cave, a place where they decide to spend the night. Somali and Uzoi go to find some water, while Haitora tells the Golem that he is a human and that Uzoi must be stopped before he does something unforgivable. As the two are searching for Somali, Haitora tells the Golem that they heard that the only cure to Haitora's tainted blood is new, clean blood from another human. On the other side, the pinned-down Somali manages to break free from Uzoi, but ends up falling into a pond. Uzoi has to save her and tell her the reason behind his actions. Haitora and the Golem arrive at the scene, and as they sleep at night, Haitora tells the Golem that they had a family in a small town, but the monsters attacked them during the war. As they were on the run, Haitora came across a harpy, something that turned out to be Uzoi's mother later on, instantly killing her and bringing her to the family hideout to eat. After doing this, his family was transformed into harpies, killing them soon after, but he didn't meet the same fate and was left in a deformed and polymorphed state. Later on, he met Uzoi, and while telling his story to the Golem right now, Uzoi overhears the conversation between the two. The next day, as the four are on the way, a sand twister takes Somali and Uzoi away. Later on, a monster starts chasing them. Haitora sees this as a perfect opportunity to redeem himself for what he did in the past, but is saved by Uzoi instead. She tells Haitora that she heard everything, and that he should live rather than dying for her sake. The Golem gets worried about his nearing end, but upon talking about it with Haitora, he comes to know about a village west of the desert where he can obtain more information. The following day, the four of them finally reach the end of the desert. This marks the time of the group separating, with Uzoi and Haitora, the Golem and Somali going separate ways. After some traveling here and there, they finally arrive at a magical village where witches call the shots. They enter the library and start researching. The witches offer them a helping hand with the assistance of Hazel and Praline. They finally come across a book called The Chronicles of Haraiso. At the same time, Somali is suddenly attacked by a book monster named Pesca Fish. Just when they're finished dealing with the monsters, a large one appears and jumps at the book from earlier. The boss Pesca Fish gets done with the book in no time and turns to Somali soon after. The Golem jumps in to ensure that Somali is out of harm's way, but the monster is strong and the Golem loses quite a bit of its armor. Somali is worried about the Golem, but he tells her that she is the first priority here. The witches look into the last person who read the book that just got destroyed, and with it turning out to be Isolde Nebslov, the head librarian from centuries ago, things have taken a different turn. Praline, a new character, then gives the Golem a map of the library. However, the two aren't able to make much sense of it, since they're stopped in their tracks by security monsters, being labeled as intruders right away. The two make a run for it and arrive at the center of the library where the head librarian is present. Isolde reveals that she in fact wrote the book in question due to her ancestors having all sorts of encounters with humans while she was a young girl. She adds that, as a child, Fyodora Nebslov ended up in a village because of a storm where humans lived. The humans were governed by a golem named Haraiso. Fyodora took a liking to the village straight away, but all that changed when she saw an innocent monster get killed by the hands of these humans. She then let herself loose when it comes to save another villager, making herself branded as a grotesque, the human term for a monster, making her leave the place right away. Isolde puts an end to the tale by mentioning about humans that are living at the end of the world. She also tells that she's aware of Somali being a human and is glad to meet her moments before passing away. While on their way to their next spot, the Golem and Somali take refuge in a large treehouse. The treehouse has different cooking ingredients, and being hungry, Somali asks the Golem to fix her something. Golem puts his cooking skills to the test and makes a souffle for her, which she finds to be quite delicious. But before she's done with it, Shizuno and Yabashida are there at the door asking for shelter themselves. The following day, the two Oni join Somali and the Golem and make it to the snowy bygone city, in search for someone that can take care of Somali's loose tooth. The dentist is a mouse-looking man who introduces himself as Sohawk, and tells Shizuo all there is to the art of dentistry. Somali, being a child, gets scared from this and runs away into an alley, making the ruffians get into a fight with each other. However, during the scuffle, Somali's tooth comes out, and upon returning to Sohak the dentist, he reassures Somali and the Golem, telling them that it was a milk tooth that would come back. Now looking for a place to stay, an innkeeper approaches them and offers his gratitude for taking care of the brawl from earlier. He offers them a place to stay in return for the heroic deed. He also wants them to be the town's bodyguards. Somali falls asleep in her new bed, and Shizuno confirms that Somali is a human. He also comes to know the secret about the Golem at the same time. Golem tells Shizuno how he and Somali first met. He said that Somali began to follow him against his own will, and over time, the Golem grew attached to her, making sure she is always getting the best he can provide. Golem also adds that he named her Somali because of the animal that led him to her in the first place. Golem's end is nearing, and he shows Shizuno just how it looks like. Being the town's bodyguards now, the Golem and Yabashira head to work while Shizuno stays behind to look after Somali. Over the next couple of days, Somali thinks hard of a gift she would give to the Golem, and picks up knitting as the perfect one. An innkeeper named Rosa is introduced as well, helping the group with food and supplies. She also helps Somali in preparing the gift for the Golem. The two start working on a knitted bracelet for the Golem. At night, Rosa runs into the trio and tells them she knows that Somali is human. The group shops for all sorts of supplies while Somali is working on her bracelet. Somali presents the gift to the Golem that night, with the Golem coming up with the same surprise. The two are overjoyed at the sight in front of them. The group plays in the snow before a hunting party suddenly appears, one who is searching for some humans. Yabashira agrees to distract them while the others make a run for it, reaching a nearby mine. But on their way, they find a bridge to be broken and have to stop for a minute. Another hunting party then approaches them, making the Golem use the last resort and carry the two while jumping down into the cavern. The group runs towards the exit when Rosa appears and, feigning to help them, locks them up before they suspect anything. Rosa explains the reason behind her actions, since as a child, her village was persecuted by a nearby human settlement, forcing her to have the biggest grudge against humans. The hunters approach, but the Golem doesn't give up, standing up for a fight. But he sees his arm falling off, a clear sign that he has indeed used up too much life energy. After Somali is taken away, the Golem lets loose and transforms into a wild monster that catches everyone by surprise. This makes the hunting party run away in an instant. As the Golem is running amok, Somali blocks the path and makes him come to his senses. After a few days, the old Golem is back once again, apologizing to everyone about what just happened a few days ago. The same night, the Golem and Shizuno go for a walk, where he tells the Oni that it might not be a lot of time left for him in this world. The next day, the four of them arrive in town, where the annual festival has taken over everyone. While the three of them are having the time of their lives, the Golem separates from them since he thinks that his time is almost over. As soon as Somali comes to know about this, she rushes to find the Golem, only to find him sitting in a nearby forest. The Golem tells her about his situation, how she should stay away from him, making his recent outburst be the very reason of their separation. But the girl doesn't have any of it. She wants to be with the Golem forever, and with the Golem finally realizing and embracing his emotions, the two make a promise that they would stay with each other for an eternity to come. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.